Hello guys, welcome to the video Spring Security. Remember me with me Nam Haming from CodeJava.net. Through this video, you will learn how to implement remember login feature for an existing Spring Boot application with two approaches. The first one is using a simple hash-based token with cookies, and the second one using a persistent token with cookies and database. Suppose that we have an existing Java project using the following technologies: Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA for the data access layer, Spring Security for authentication, Thymeleaf Extras for Spring Security to use Spring Security in the view layer, and MySQL as a database. And in this video, I'm using the following software programs: Java Development Kit (JDK), Spring Tools, Sui IDE, SDS, and MySQL Database Server and MySQL Workbench. As you can see, I have an existing Java project in Spring Tools, Sui IDE here, the Subme backend project, as you can see. And in this project, I'm using Spring Security for user authentication and authorization, as you can see here in the web security config class here. All requests must be authenticated. In other words, the application requires users to log in to use a function of the application. And this is a custom login page. And as you can see in the Spring Boot application properties file here, the embedded Tomcat server is configured to listening on the port number 8080, and the context path is subme admin. Now let me start this Spring Boot application. In the boot dashboard here, start. In this Spring Boot application, I already implemented the login and logout for the users, or the authentication features. Okay, our Spring Boot application is up and running. Now let me open Chrome browser to access our Spring Boot application. Yeah, go to http localhost port number 8080, and the context path is subme admin. Yeah, and you see it requires me to log in with email and password. So I enter my email. Is hm@codejava.net and my password. Okay, click login. You see I have logged in into this application, so I can use all the functions of the application to manage users, categories, brands, products, customer, and so on, settings, and so on. But when I close a browser, quit the browser, and I open the browser again, I need to log in again. Now let me go to the subme admin http here. You see I have logged in before, and I just quit the browser. I open the browser again, and it requires me to log in again. So it is somewhat annoying, and it is a waste of time for me because I have to enter email and password again. So I want to implement the remember password feature, so I can log in even after I exit the browser. So that you understand the current application. And in the next few minutes, we will learn how to implement the remember me feature that allows the user to remember the login. So the user doesn't have to provide login details each time when using the application when browser access. With Spring Security, we can implement the Remember Me feature to provide better user experience to the end users. And with Spring Security, users' logins can survive when the browser access and when the application restarts. Now I will guide you how to implement the Remember Me feature with the first approach using a simple hash-based token. In this approach, the username and password are stored in cookies in the browser, and they are hashed using MD5. So it is simple to implement but less secure. And according to Spring Security documentation, it will store this information into cookies in a browser username, expiration time, and password, and a private key. So basically, username and password are stored in the cookie in encrypted form, but it is less secure if the information is captured. But it is very simple to implement with Spring Security. Come back to our project, and you see in this project it is already implemented the authentication, login and logout for the user. As you can see, this is a user details class here. Implement user details interface from Spring Security, and this is an implementation of user details service here that implement the method load user by username to authenticate the user and return a user detail object here. And this is a security configuration class here that configures various beans for authentication, user detail service, password encoder, authentication provider, and configures HTTP security with a custom login form, as you can see here. Now let me log in again, and I will show you the cookies stored in the browser in Chrome. In Chrome browser, you can click here and you can see the cookies one in use here. Cookies, localhost, cookies, and you can see a Java web application by default we store a cookie named JSessionID to store the ID of the session of the user here, and you can see the expiration. This cookie will expire when the browsing session ends. Yeah, that means when I quit the browser, my login will be removed, and if I open the browser again, I have to log in again. Now let me log out, and then we update the code of the project to use the Remember Me feature with the first approach, hash-based token approach using cookies. So in this configure method in a security class, you can call Remember Me. Sorry, we need to end to return the HTTP security, and then we can call Remember Me method here. Just remember me to use the default configurations. And then in the login form, if you use a custom login form, you need to insert some HTML code to display a checkbox that allows the user to remember the login. You can see this is the code of the custom login form here. Now I'm going to add a checkbox here. Checkbox before the submit login button here. Input type equal checkbox, and the name of the checkbox must be remember dash me. That's it. And the text is remember me on this computer. That's it. Very simple. With approach using hash based token with cookies. That's let me see. Call remember me method here and insert a checkbox remember me to the login page. Now let's refresh this login page. I go to the home page and it requires me to login. And this time you can see the checkbox remember me on this computer appears. And now I enter the email and password and check this option remember me on this computer and login. You see I have logged in successfully, and let's check the cookie in the browser. And you can see now we have 2 cookies stored in the browser. Let's see. The first cookie is always the session ID, and the second one with the name remember that's me here, generated by Spring Security. And you can see the content is encrypted here. Domain, localhost, path, context path of the application. Created time and expires on after 2 weeks. This cookie will expires after 2 weeks or 14 days. You see. Now let me exit the browser, quit the browser, and try to log in to the home page again. And I expect that I don't have to log in again. I don't have to type username, email, and password again. Okay, and open the browser again and paste the URL here. Hit enter, and you see I'm already logged in because the browser store cookies, so it remembers my login details. See, so far so good, right? Now let me stop this application and restart it to see if the login can survive after application restart. Start. We got an error here. Let's see. I think it's no problem. You can see when the application restarts, I have to log in again. Let me explain why. And because by default, Spring Security uses a token, a random token for the private key. As you can see here, for the private key here store in the cookie, a private key to prevent modification of the remember me token. Here, Spring Security we generate You can see. Remember me. Key. You can see. You can see by default Spring generate the random key. So when the application restarts, the key has been changed, so the login cannot survive. So if you want to keep user can login after application restart, you can specify a key here, any key, but it is persistent. It will not be changed after application restart. For example, I specify a random key here, which is the alphabet and number. Okay, and now let's restart the application and test again. Restart. Okay, now let me try to log in again and remember me on this computer. Check this option. Remember me on this computer. Login. Okay. Now I quit the browser and I stop the application and start again. Start. And I expect that as a previous login session can survive after application restarts, because I'm using the key here, the specific key here, not a random key. Okay, open the Chrome browser, paste the URL and hit enter. And you see, I'm still logged in. Perfect, right? That means if you want to keep the login session survive after application restarts, we need to use this key. Spring Boot security also allows programmers to specify the expiration time for the login session cookie. Here, you can use the token validity seconds method to specify how long in seconds a token is valid for. In the browser, you can see the lifetime of the Remember Me cookie is just 2 weeks. You can see it was created on August 16th and it will expire on August the 30th. Here you can see 2 weeks, and we can change this expiration time by specifying the token validity seconds here. For example, I want to change the expiration time to only 3 days, so I use this 3 multiplied by 20 hours multiplied by minutes in an hour and multiplied by a second in a minute, so it will result in the number of seconds in 3 days, and set to restart the application. Now I log out and log in again, and after you log out you can see The content of the remember me cookie is clear. After logout, now I log in again and check the remember me on this computer. Login and let's check the expiration date of the cookie. Remember me cookie, and you can see it was created on August 16 and it will expire on August 19th, which is about 3 days. That exactly we specify in the code here, in the method token validity seconds. The remember me feature also works very well with the default login form in Spring. Let me log out and I update the code here to use the default login form provided by Spring Security. Save, and the application will automatically restart because I'm using Spring developer tools. Okay, now it will show the default login form provided by Spring Security. You can see, and now I log in again. And it provides the remember me on this computer checkbox automatically. Click sign in. And you see, I already logged in successfully. So whether you use the own login form or the default login form, the remember me feature still works very well. Next, I'm going to show you how to implement the remember me feature with the second approach using a persistent token. In this approach, the username and password are stored in the database in encrypted format. So it requires further steps to configure. It is more complex, but it is more secure as well because the username and password are not stored in cookies. Instead, they are stored in the database, encrypted in the database. And Spring Security requires to have this table in the database, the persistent underscore logins. So we need to create this table first in the database. So this is MySQL workbench on my computer, and this is the database schema for the application. And let's create a new table. The name and the table name and the column names must exactly like this. The table name is persistent underscore logins, and column names username Vaja64 series token last used username. Data type is Vaja64. Vaja length is 64. And series Vaja64. Token data type is also Vaja64. And the last column is last underscore used, and the data type is timestamp. Yeah. And the primary key field is series, not username. Series. All the columns must be not null. That's it. Let's check username Vaja64 series token as used. Primary key is series. Okay. Click apply. Give you the SQL statement apply. And we got the table position logins created here. As you can see, position login columns here. Username, series, token, and last field. And then in the project, we need to write some extra code to configure a persistent token approach. Here in the security configuration file, in the configure HTTP security method, and remember green. And then we need to specify the token repository. Here we use a persistent token repository. So let's create this method. We need to use the bin annotation to return the bin to be managed by Spring Framework. And Spring Security provide two types of token repository. And we use the JDBC token repository implementation here for the database token repository equal with JDBC token repository. And we need to set a data source for this JDBC token repository. Data source. And we need to configure the data source here using the auto-while annotation. So Spring Framework will automatically configure the data source for us. Data source from the package, the box.sql. And the data source information we will specify here in the Spring application properties here. The data source URL username and password. Okay, that's it for the little extra code to configure remember token with persistent database. And then we will insert the token repository here. That's it. And also in the login form, so that you put the checkbox which may have been last week here. If you are using a custom login form. That's it. And now let me clear all the caches in the browser and test the second approach. Now start the application. So as you have seen, Spring Security make it easy to implement the memory feature with both approaches. Okay, now let's choose the application. Localhost 1 software. Yeah, let's log in. And before that, let's see the content of the persistent login table here. Select rows and we'll say it is empty. Okay, now let's try to move it. Check remember name here. Okay. Today I have successfully logged in here. And let's refresh the select SQL statement here. And you can see in the persistent login table, Spring Security inserts a new row with the name here, series, token, and timestamp for the last field here. That means the memory feature is actually working. Let me check by closing the browser. Access the web. simply close the browser. And open the browser again. Press enter. And you can see I'm still logged in here. And let's check the cookies. We also have two cookies. The first one is for the Java session, and the second one for the reading cookie. But this cookie stores only the session information, It doesn't store the username and password. Instead, username and password are encrypted, stored in the database like this. Yeah, that's the last, and you can see the last lead time change. You can see the last lead time has changed. Yeah. With the persistent token approach, the login can also survive after application restarts. So when you restart this throughput application, stop and start. With persistent token approach, we don't have to specify a key for the remember feature. Okay, start and running. Refresh this page. And you see I'm still logging in here in the application. Perfect, right? Check the database. You can see the last use time here. Let's refresh. You can see it has been changed. Yeah. Now let's try to run. It will be remove the database. And you can see the token information was removed from the table to login. So far, you have learned how to implement the remember me feature for an existing Spring Boot application with Spring Security with two approaches. The first one is using cookies only with symbol hash-based token, and the second one using persistent token with the username and password stored in database. I hope you will find this video helpful. Please help me grow this channel by subscribing, like, comment, and share this video. Thank you.